Good morning everyone, welcome to my new channel. Today I'm going to be talking about Biden and his meeting with Putin in Geneva. And before I start guys, I want to thank everyone for all the love and support you've been giving me, and I kindly ask for you to carry on doing what you're doing. Like, share, subscribe, click the bell icon or whatever you can to support the channel. I really appreciate it. Also, there are some donation links in the description. So without further ado, let's get on with the show. Before I start guys, I just want to say what a weak president Joe Biden is. He is absolutely weak. He can't even put two sentences together. And so they got this guy trying to run a huge country like America. It's just beyond me guys, it's absolutely beyond me. So let me show you an example. Listen to this.
I caught part of President Putin's.
Did you hear that? So basically, he accidentally called Putin President Trump. Really bizarre. Really is bizarre. I have no words, seriously. So let's get to the next one. And this is a real bungling affair, this one.
For example, in Libya, we should be opening up the passes to be able to go through and provide food assistance and vital assistance to a population that's in real trouble. I think I'm going to try very hard to.
Did you hear that, guys? Basically, he mixes Syria and Libya while talking in that interview. Mentions Libya 3 times, bizarrely, and doesn't know which country is which. I guess America's been bombing so many countries in the Middle East, even they get confused which one's which. It's absolutely bizarre, guys, absolutely bizarre. So before I go ahead with my thoughts about the summit and his meeting with Putin, I'm going to go through a few articles. As you can see, the Daily Mail, what the UK thinks of Biden. He seems lost, dazed and confused. You got the Express in the UK saying, weak Joe Biden branded out of his depth with Vladimir Putin. You got some the Sun saying, Biden is not fit for office as he could barely get through mumbling press conferences. White House claims. Also the Sun says Biden gave Putin green light to cyber attack US when he listed 16 off-limit targets, experts say. So I'm going to talk about the summit a bit later on, but I'm just going to talk about this topic first. There was a part of the summit where bizarrely Biden gives Putin a list of 16 off-limit targets for cyber attacks, which means he's given the go-ahead to attack everything else. It's the most ridiculous thing I've seen or heard in my life, because it's like saying, go ahead, attack everything else we don't really care about. We just only care about these 16 off-limit targets. And it's just like giving a go-ahead to say, come on, let's see what you got. It's absolutely ridiculous. I mean, Biden should be saying there's no cyber attacks whatsoever. Because given these 16 lists, for example, how does he know what's important, what's not? Not today, but in 5 years' time. For example, AI or quantum computing or some other industry might be, more important in 5 years' time than it is now. It's absolutely ridiculous. So he should be strong enough to say no cyber attacks in US whatsoever, instead of giving him in this list. Putin will look at this list saying, all right guys, have a look at this list and attack everything else. It's fine, it's not a problem. It's absolutely bizarre. Seriously, this is it's like sending an old age pensioner to fight Mike Tyson in his prime. He just doesn't have a chance. It's just out of his depth. It's absolutely ridiculous. Right, let's go to the next article. Biden is an embarrassment who can't string a sentence together and hasn't made an impression on the world stage, Ferrange says. This is right, guys. I mean, I remember in school when I used to see like little kids trying to talk to girls, and they're like mumbling fools. They're like, hello, hello, can you go out with me, and you know. I mean, this Joe Biden, he would make the worst wingman in the whole wide world. Would you really trust this guy to be a wingman? Here you are trying to chat to women and trying to talk to the opposite sex, and then you see this guy's going, hello, my name is Joe. You would bloody scare all the girls away. He doesn't seem like he's got any sort of confidence. He doesn't seem like, you know, he can think clearly. I don't know if it's his age or, you know, it just seems really bizarre to have this guy as president. I think he's the worst president USA has ever had, and I just can't get my head around it. And even I feel embarrassed to say this, but I feel Trump was much better than him in so many ways. I mean, obviously I'm not a fan of Trump, but I just feel this guy is the worst president USA had ever had, and I don't say that lightly. Can you imagine Abraham Lincoln meeting Putin and coming on a press conference and going hi blah 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 blah? You know, you wouldn't see anything like that. A US president, he needs to have conviction. He needs to have strength. You must not show any weakness. You must be able to lead a whole country the size of USA. Your words must have meaning. Your words must have conviction. Your words must have fear. You know, you need to be able to strike fear into your enemies. You know, I just don't see how he's become president. And I've grown up and I've done a lot of history and I've seen a lot of American past presidents, and none of them, and this guy is a complete embarrassment compared to them. Seriously, I'm just lost for words. The other thing I've noticed is he doesn't seem to do his homework. He makes a lot of mistakes and mixing Syria with Libya, and he seems to be reading from some notes or placards, probably, you know, his press secretary has given him, and he just doesn't seem like he does any homework, and he tries to read these notes and he mumbles through them and makes mistake, goes from one note to the next, and none of his press conferences make any sense. I don't know how people in America voted for this guy, and I just feel people must have really hated Trump to vote for Joe Biden, because Joe Biden is not somebody that the American public would vote for just by looking at him or the way he acts and the way he conducts himself. I mean, I think people just wanted Trump out, and they would have settled for anyone and anybody. But by the way this is going, I feel that a lot of people would probably vote Trump back in 4 years' time, the way Joe Biden's carrying on, because people will be like, I'd rather have Trump back than this clown. Seriously, this is everything Biden is doing is just giving weight to Trump to come back in 4 years, and unfortunately that's the way it's looking. Okay, off to the next article, and this article says Lara Trump slammed Biden for answering questions from pre-approved reporters after Putin Summit. And again, guys, it just doesn't show any confidence from Biden himself answering questions from reporters, or even answering hard questions from reporters he doesn't know. It just shows a lot of weakness. He can't do that. I mean, answering questions from pre-approved reporters. I mean, why is he why is he a president anyway if he can't answer tough questions from reporters? I mean, look at Putin. He comes on, he's answering questions from anyone. You know, he's answering questions with a lot of confidence. You know, he knows how to play the game. You know, he's been around. But Biden, he just doesn't have the confidence to answer any difficult questions. And what's the point being a president if you can't do that? Okay, so let's get to the meat of the discussion. So after the meeting, he came on a press conference and he says, Biden says, Russia is in a very, very difficult spot right now, and Russia is being squeezed by China. He also said Russia has a multi-thousand-mile border with China. China is moving ahead, seeking to be the most powerful economy in the world and the largest and the most powerful military in the world. You, Russia, are in a situation where your economy is struggling. I mean, what kind of crap is that? Seriously. Does he think the Russian President Putin, and does he think the Russian people are stupid? You know, at the last sentence, you, Russia, are in a situation where your economy is struggling. I mean, how stupid is he? Seriously. There's so many things wrong with this statement. So let's kind of break it down one by one. I want to start with this last statement here. You, Russia, are in a situation where your economy is struggling. Why do you think the Russian economy is struggling? It's because the US and the West has been putting all these sanctions on Russia for years and years and years. They've been squeezing Russia, putting sanction after sanction after sanction. That's why the Russian economy is struggling. And to be honest, the Russian economy is up to a point now where it doesn't struggle anymore. You know, the West or the United States can put as many sanctions they can on Russia. It's just not going to affect them anymore. Because, do you know why? Because, firstly, number one, Russia doesn't have any debt. I think the debt is like 200 billion or something. Very, very small compared to America's 28 trillion. So Russia's debt is manageable. And secondly, Russia's biggest trading partner right now and friends is China. And trade between them last year was 100 billion. This year's like 200 billion. And next year is projected to be 300 billion. So it's going up by 100 billion every year. And Russia, you know, don't underestimate Russia. Russia's got a lot of natural resources. It's exporting oil, is exporting a lot of natural resources around the world, and also, you know, to China as well. And Russia's doing fine. And now they've come to a point now where American sanctions and European sanctions just don't work on them anymore. So I can see Russia's economy moving up and up and up and shooting up in the next few years. They'll be working with China on a lot of projects. China's economy is going to move up, and Russia's economy is going to move up as well. And to top it up, Russia is also dumping all the US dollars. China's doing the same as well. And especially with the petrol yuan and digital yuan coming up, and also Russia's own version of the digital ruble, you know, you will see dollar having less and less influence around the world. And listen, Biden, Joe Biden, Sleepy Biden, whatever you want to call yourself, Russia's economy is not struggling, and it was struggling a few years ago when you were putting dozens and dozens of sanctions on Russia, but it's not struggling anymore because they're hardly in any debt, and right now they're making money. Russia's economy is shooting up, and you are very much underestimating Russia's economy, and you are very much wrong, Mr. Biden. I'm going to say Mr. Biden, and that was said in purpose, by the way. I didn't call him President Biden because I don't think he's fit to be president. So I'm going to call him Mr. Biden. I'm going to go to this first statement here. Russia is in a very, very difficult spot right now, and Russia is being squeezed by China. I mean, what an embarrassing statement to make. Does he even know what's going on around the world? How is Russia in a very, very difficult spot right now? Can someone explain me how? They're not in a difficult spot right now. I'll tell you why. The only reason Biden is having a meeting with Putin is because of Putin's partnership with China. And USA has seen this, and they thought about it and thought, hang on a second, we can probably, you know, fight with one superpower like China, but we can definitely not fight with China and Russia together. So we need to somehow drive a wedge between the two. So let's try and do that. So this is him trying to drive a wedge between Russia and China, and it's just not going to work. He's just embarrassing himself and embarrassing the USA as well, and embarrassing the Russian people, because he must think the Russian people are stupid. The only reason Biden is having this summit is because of Russia's partnership with China, and if anything, the partnership is working because it's scaring the US to death. Russia has been asking for a summit and a meeting with the US for years. They've been asking it for years, to talk about cybersecurity, to talk about denuclearization, lots of issues, and US has been pretty much ignoring Russia until now. You know, for about 5-10 years, Russia has been asking for a meeting or a summit meeting. USA just brushed them off and ignored them. But now, as Russia's, in partnership with China, they're doing loads of great projects together. They're going on the moon. They're building up nuclear reactors together. They're obviously working on an alliance, military alliance as well. And right now, America seems to take notice and think, okay, hang on a second, let's have a meeting with Russia. So, if anything, this shows that the Russia-China partnership is working, and America is bloody scared, and they're noticing that, hang on, they need to do something. If Russia was by itself, China was by itself, they can probably pick each country off, at their will. They can just get all their allies together and just pick these countries off at their will and isolate them, and like they've done to Russia over the years. But they can't obviously do that to China. But it's much easier for them to pick one country at a time and pick them off sector by sector. But when you got two countries joining forces together, it's a lot more difficult, and it's a lot harder to get your allies together to fight against these two countries. One thing I want to say about the summit is it only lasted 3 hours. Can you believe this crap? 3 bloody hours. A summit meeting between two of the most powerful nuclear countries in the world, America and Russia, and you've had a summit after so long, and you only spent 3 hours talking. Can you believe this crap? Seriously, what the hell would you chat for 3 hours? I mean, when I meet my friends, or when I go for a meal or whatever, if I don't see them for a few years and I want to catch up with them, it's not going to take me 3 hours, it's going to take me a whole day. Seriously, what the hell would 3 hours do? You can't do anything with 3 hours. You can't even agree to anything. You can't make any breakthroughs. It's just ridiculous. It's almost like USA have gone there with no plan. I just don't think they had a plan. I feel that Biden has been forced against his will to have this summit meeting. And from what I know is this summit was announced at a time when things were escalating between Ukraine and Russia. And that's when Biden had requested a summit meeting to probably try and de-escalate things. Unfortunately, everything is now de-escalated, and he's now come to this summit meeting and he just doesn't have anything to say or anything to talk about. He's just sitting there being weak, and he's almost like sent to the bear's lair, bear's cave, and Putin would literally eat him alive. I feel sorry for Biden, because Putin is not a weak president. He comes across as very strong, and the Russian people are probably very proud of Putin. He's not a pushover, and he's got strength. He's got conviction, and you got Sleepy Joe. You put him against in the ring, and obviously there's going to be one winner. Going back to this article, obviously this statement was made to the press conference. But if he said anything like this in front of Putin, Putin would slap him, put him in his place. Seriously, what a coward. How would he say something like that on a press conference and not say something like this in front of Putin's face? Like this article says, Putin would very likely refute him immediately. Such kind, baseless provocation is a humiliation of the Russian people, treating one of the most powerful countries in the world as an idiot. Seriously. And then it says Russia is being squeezed by China. How is Russia being squeezed by China when they're having so many projects together? They're building up trade relationships with each other. They're helping Russia's economy grow. China's economy is growing. They're working together on the Belt and Road. How is that being squeezed by China? It seems like he's living in a cuckoo world, cuckoo land. He just doesn't know what's going on around him. Seriously. My thoughts, guys. I think Biden went to this summit meeting with a mission, and his mission was to stop Russia from working with China, and he wanted to know what it would take for Russia to stop working with China, and whether they would take a bribe, because there was reports coming out of America that America was prepared to give Russia some bribes to stop them from working with China, and also to see if that would, likely happen. I think what happened is Biden maybe tried to speak about China, and Putin immediately brushed him off. Just said, sorry, that's a red line. That's not going to happen. And obviously he needs to have something to show for it to the American press and American people. So he probably came up with this ridiculous statement that his press secretary gave to him or whatever. That's probably why he said it, because he couldn't get anything out of Putin, and he had to obviously save face. So he probably came up with this statement here. Biden probably also tried to speak about other red lines of Russia, things like Navalny, things like Ukraine, NATO, and probably got brushed off exactly the same way as China. And that's probably why the meeting completed 2 hours ahead of schedule. It was supposed to run for 5 hours, but it ran for 3 hours. Even 5 hours is too short, to be honest. There's a lot to discuss, a lot to kind of talk about. I just think Biden probably did not want to be there and just wanted it to be over as soon as possible. And this article tells me exactly how things are right now. Russia's economic difficulties are directly resulted from joint sanctions imposed by the US and other Western countries. According to Russian statistics, the US alone has imposed more than 90 sanctions on Russia. 90. Trade between Russia and Europe was about 410 billion, but it dropped to 219 billion in 2020. Can you believe this? Seriously. And USA is blaming China for this, when it was US's sanctions and the Western countries' sanctions that are actually squeezing Russia. Seriously, this guy's living in another world. He also mentioned the China-Russia border was long, but what he doesn't realize is that border is undisputed. There's peace between the two countries, there's peace between the borders, there's no armies between these two borders. That means Russia can concentrate its force against NATO, and China can concentrate its force towards India and also the South China Sea on the east side of China. The Russian leaders and Russian people know that China is no threat, and same way Chinese leaders and Chinese people know Russia is no threat. They're working together in many projects around the world: BRI, Arctic, nuclear, military. They're doing so many projects together. They're building their own airliner. The trust is there, but either country do not trust America. Russia doesn't trust America. China doesn't trust America. So America's a problem country here, but they're underestimating the friendship between Russia and China. These two countries, they trust each other. They've built a great relationship. And America thinking they can come here and drive a wedge, well, again, they must be living in another world. All in all, guys, his little tour of Europe has been a complete failure, absolute failure. His little Gangster 7 meeting was nothing more than a paid holiday. £90 million of British taxpayers' money went on that holiday. He could not get France or Europeans, Germany, Italy, in his side to condemning China, and that did not happen. In fact, Macron had said to him, when I last looked at the map, I could not see China anywhere in the North Atlantic. So, and there was a time when they had to switch off the internet because they were arguing about China policy, that and Biden wanted a very strong anti-China policy, and the Europeans were against it. So he failed to get his allies together for an anti-Chinese coalition. He's failed in his summit with Putin, and the only thing he's done is got NATO to give a strong message out to China, which China pretty much brushed off, to be honest. NATO means North Atlantic Treaty Organization, and like the name, it's North Atlantic, which means China is nowhere near the North Atlantic. Their main goal might be Russia, but it's definitely not China. And if NATO wants to fight with China as well, they will need more budget, put more forces around China, and plus more forces around Russia. Who's going to pay for it all? Is America going to carry on paying for that? Are the other countries going to carry on paying for that? Because NATO is not free. I don't think... Yeah, NATO will probably give a strong statement out because they're being funded mainly by the US. So if Biden says, look, if you don't send a strong statement out condemning China, then, we will stop your funding. Obviously, NATO's going to say, no. Obviously, they will do it. And also, if NATO has a enemy like China, it's probably easier for them to get more funding, because when they don't have an enemy, it's hard for these European countries and all NATO members to put some funding towards it. But if they have an enemy, other countries will put funding towards it. But I don't think many countries will put funding towards NATO. I mean, look at what Trump did last time he was in power. He basically scolded all his alliance members, including all the Europeans, for not putting enough money into NATO. Basically, America had been funding most of it, or nearly all of it. And what did China do with NATO's response? Basically, they sent 26 airplanes, fighter jets, around Taiwan Island. And China's like, yeah, you know what? Go ahead and spend more money, NATO. We'll still be here. Do your best. Do what you want. Because China knows, who's going to be paying for most of this, NATO expansion. It's going to be America and the taxpayers. The European countries are completely against it. Even Macron had said, it's absolutely ridiculous for NATO to be pushing a China agenda as well as Russia. Even NATO cannot fight in two fronts. It's absolutely ridiculous. Anyway, guys, I'm going to stop it here. I'm going to end the discussion, but I'm going to give you a quick summary what I think. My thoughts are Biden is very weak. He's not fit to lead America, and China and Russia and everyone's pretty much laughing at him. His allies are laughing at him. His allies are not even listening. He's gone to these G7 meetings, G7 summits. He can't even get the allies together. Everything he's done in this summit has failed. He's failed in his anti-Chinese policies, failed to get the allies together to give out an anti-Chinese policy. He's failed miserably with the Putin Summit. And I just think he's a very weak president overall. I think he's easily led by the American public, American media and Congress. If he was a strong president, he would have come into office. He would have got rid of all these trade wars with China and start working with China. He would have started building a good relationship with Russia. And that's a strong president. He would have stood up to Congress. He would have stood up to the media and said, listen, guys, let's work with China. China's going to be the biggest economy. We can't stop them. They're going to, look at their population versus our population. They will be the world's #1 economy within the next 10 years. So it's our chance to work with them and help them with the transition. And in the same way, they would help us. and we will help each other. And that's the best way to grow. And that would have been, he would have had a lot of respect for that. But right now, he just doesn't know where he's going. He's going one direction to the next. He's trying to build an anti-Chinese coalition for what? For what? No one is listening. Europeans aren't listening. Russia ain't listening. Nobody's listening. Asia isn't listening. America is just unreliable. They cannot be trusted. They change their policy from one president to the next. And Joe Biden, people look at his press conferences and he can't put two sentences together. Is that someone who strikes fear? Someone you can trust? Someone you can respect? You know, his own people cannot respect that. And everyone else in the world cannot respect that. Asia is looking at that. Southeast Asia is looking at that. Central Asia is looking at that. They're thinking, hang on a second. Do we side with this old man, or do we stick with Putin and Xi Jinping? You know, in the day, there's only one winner, guys, when it comes to a leader. A real leader, you know, talks with conviction. You know, you sit there and listen. You got no choice, because you know whatever he says, he means it and it's the truth, and, you know, you listen. But this guy is mumbling, is jumbling. He just doesn't know. I guess his country's mixed up. He doesn't know where he's going. One minute to the next, he keeps falling over. He doesn't know which country he's bombing. Seriously, this guy he's lost it. Anyway, guys, I'm going to end it there. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and share and comment whenever you can. And I'll see you in the next one. Cheers, guys. Bye.